Hello there folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel, a place where I discuss different topics like spirituality, deeper introspection, sociology, understanding the human mind, different dimensions, whatever people might feel interested in asking. Usually there aren't too many of these questions, but at times I might actually turn a conversation I've had with a friend into a video. This time, this idea of this video is about the coronavirus, and well, it's an idea that I have been hinted at, most likely by, I don't know, universe or something like that. And it's an idea that popped into my mind. And the question that came to my mind was, why do you think lockdowns only last 30 days? I mean, it's not that only 30 days, because 30 days is a whole month, okay? But why 30 days and not less, okay? Or why not more, okay? And well, I'm sure many people might ask about this, but the the reason is probably something that is eluding their mind, or we've been born and raised in an idea of self-doubt, because the more you doubt yourself, the more power you can actually give to external forces, okay? Because if you don't know yourself, you will not trust your own potential, okay? So why would it be that, everywhere in the world, all the countries are closing themselves down for specifically or at least 30 days, okay? And why not less, okay? Why not more? Now, if we remember the beginning of the year, okay, everything seemed very good. And except the awkward fact of why would suddenly the forces of European Union and probably other bigger countries undergo an exercise training, okay, of how to act in case of a pandemic, and exactly 2 months later the whole planet is under lockdown, okay, and all the governments simply impose the lockdown and simply people agree to that without uh, any simple thinking, okay, and it was awkward to see, but in the end it was nothing else than an engineering program, because the coronavirus is only an engineering program. We are socially being engineered towards even more submission towards societal forces, okay? And if you looked around like I did, and it was like suddenly after one, or for some people I saw even a few days, but let's say 2 weeks, for many people it was like they instantly got adapted, okay? It's like the face mask was no concern to them, it was no importance to them, okay? And 30 days, okay, they don't have an occult meaning or something, they just have a psychological meaning, because in psychology it is said that 28 days, if you do something again and again, it becomes your new normal. It becomes a habit, okay? Which a habit easily means for most people the new normal, okay? Now, the problem is that a habit is something that you do unconsciously, okay? Or subconsciously, because that's what a habit is, okay? A habit can be compared to what a function would be in programming, okay? It is a bunch of code that is being executed upon call, okay? It's usually a repetitive code, or a code that you may need in several parts, and instead of actually writing that code in all the possible parts, you write it somewhere and then you just call it, okay? So that's basically what your habit is. You're doing something which you're sticking somewhere into your mind, and when the situations and the conditions are met, you are gonna do that again and again and again, but specifically from that piece of the mind, okay? So you're gonna do that more like unconsciously or subconsciously, because a habit is only subconsciously, okay? If you're doing something repetitively but you're doing it consciously, under the sense that you're actually conscious and aware of each and every one of your decisions, because that's what not acting habitually means, well, and you're also questioning and wondering, and thinking how you can improve on things, well, that's not a habit because you're doing something repetitively, but you're also conscious of your actions and your thoughts and your doings, okay? And you're also seeking to improve. But when you're doing something by habit, okay, that's a pattern. And in a pattern, you're not going to become better at doing that, okay? Now, what a pattern or a habit is, those typical people who always do the same things during the day and at the same exact specific hours. And don't get me wrong, but even your job is a pattern because it has the same hour, and after a certain time you become complacent. You're actually enjoying your new prison because that's basically what society is all about. A prison you cannot see, smell, or hear, right? Just like the Matrix would say. Because, well, for the people who are unconsciously living or subconsciously living, the point about this is very simple. Once they do a certain thing a certain amount of days, it becomes their new normal because uh, even now, okay, we as humans still have that animal side within us that longs for the idea of control, okay. Now, what your how to call it, uh, how was it called? Um, Comfort zone, yes. Now, what your comfort zone actually works, well, it's a habit or it's a situation that works against your consciousness, okay? That aspect, okay, the comfort zone, gives you a certain sense of freedom, okay? It gives you a certain sense of power, okay? But ultimately, is nothing else than an illusion of safety, okay? And people who are lower vibrational, they will always vibrate at the frequency of survival, and the comfort zone seems like the best place for survival, and that is why so many people are simply easy to control. Because people who are subconscious, they will only exist at a drone level. And the drone level means only survival, okay? Survival of the individual. So if society comes and says, okay, wear a face mask, okay? Those people will actually do that because, well, their survival is their only interest, okay? That is why you should always stay away from these people because in order for them to survive, they will be capable even to kill you. Well, not necessarily specifically, but don't forget that anyone would kill for their own life, okay? And that is something that belongs to nature. It is not something bad, but, well, if exploited in a certain way, and especially with people living subconsciously, which means their intellect will sooner or later turn against them, because when you're living at a drone level, like an animal, you don't need intellect, because intellect means going beyond the natural tendency of the human body, and the mind and the ego, right? So the point is, if you're wearing a face mask for 30 days, most likely you're becoming complacent, okay? Many people, of course, will be wearing that so that they don't get fined, because why do you live in a state, okay, where you know, uh, you would expect society to save you, okay? There is no savior out there, okay? God will not move their little finger to save you. Society won't ever do one thing to save you. Like, guess what? Society is actually keeping you in houses like, animals in a zoo, and you're expecting society to do something to save you? No, ain't gonna happen, okay? Society has organized wars so that humans kill one another. Society has organized races and, genders and whatever sorts of separation to keep you far away from the others. And, well, if you tell this to, the subconscious people, they will simply run away from the truth because the truth will hurt them. Why? Because it will strip them from the comfort zone that they so much adore, okay? They love being in that prison. Now, what I saw about this society is that there are so many people with low self-esteem that, they embrace a comfort zone in which they basically suck, okay? Because they are taught by other idiots, usually their parents, and school comes next, that they suck, they are not good at anything, they must be afraid of change, they must be afraid of mistakes. How will you ever improve if you are afraid of mistakes? And that's why schools are nothing else than a crime against humanity. So the point about this is very simple, okay? Um, Once you live in this influence that basically you suck, it becomes your comfort zone. So there you have it. You have a lot of people who will fight to preserve the title that they suck, they are worthless, they are useless, and in all the pain they are creating for them, they are becoming vampiric. And they will enjoy even more being vampiric, because once they see that there will be, I mean, not suckers, I mean people who will try to solve some of their problems, well, the big problem is they will become even more vampiric. Now, you never should help people unless they actually ask for your help, and unless they also give you something back, okay? Now, I'm not saying that you should expect rewards. I'm just saying that, there should always be a bidirectional, energy flow, okay? Not just black holes, okay? People who just take and take and take, right? Narcissistic fuckers, right? And manipulative folks, okay? Now, why is this? Well, because if you just give, give, and give, they will just take, take, and take, and you will remain burnt, and they will simply be feeding off of your energy, right? Because that's how energy vampires and, emotional vampires actually work, okay? And, well, if you don't teach people how to solve their problems, it's never worth to solve their problems, because they will keep creating newer problems because they are alone. Such people cannot have friends, because they cannot view people as friends, because they suck so hard, okay? Their low self-esteem is so hard, they don't consider themselves worthy of even having friends. So they won't be having friends, so they will be alone, and they will just desperately seek to catch anyone's attention, okay? If you still are not convinced about this, how about you go, on Instagram and other such social media, and you will see, especially the newer generation, so many people simply function on such a principle, okay? They suck horribly, they know that, but they are constantly creating new personas, okay, to show that they would have such a perfect life, while living this lie, and worse than that, they get fooled by other such people's lies, okay, and they constantly feel bad about themselves, okay. This is just a psychiatry game, okay? It's just a psychiatry game where they are causing pain on themselves, okay? This is not something that you should bother yourself with, because it's nothing of concern with you. But if you do something a certain amount of times, okay, it becomes more and more your comfort zone. Why do you think there was an initial lockdown, and why do you think there's another lockdown now, okay? It's not because of the coronavirus, okay? The coronavirus is just some pathetic excuse, just a pathetic way of keeping people in bondage, okay? Keeping people in a prison, like in a literal prison in their homes. And, well, worse than that, reduce any chance that you will actually turn against society, because now when so many people embrace this new prison, right, it will be hard to do a certain thing, because your neighbors will be enjoying their prisons even more. Like in my country, it's funny that people have already created a dumber concept, an apex of idiocy that I call, okay, which is called virtual holidays. So it's basically you pay for Google Maps, okay? You pay for a virtual tour of a certain town, or I don't know exactly what that is about, but I'm sure there are a lot of dumb folks to actually fall for that. It's like, why the fuck would you even pay for Google Maps? I mean, first of all, it's free, and secondarily, if you have half a brain, okay, if you have some imagination, you can simply view parts of those cities, okay, before you go to bed, and then you can simply dream about going in there, okay. Of course, it's not real, but so is virtual reality not real. At least I'm watching the town on Google Maps, and then I'm using my imagination to think that, I'm actually moving around there, and I might actually see people, but this is again some weird stuff, because it's nothing else in psychiatry. I'm imagining stuff which doesn't exist, and the problem would be if I actually end up believing in that, because that's when the problem appears, okay? That's why so many people are actually nutcases, because they are believing what society tells them, okay, even if it is not true. And when you're believing stuff that is not true, you're not living in the same reality. If you're not living in the same reality, well, then you're a nutcase. So you have to be treated, right? That's how I would deal with all this, cunt virus, you know, scaredy folks, okay? So there have always been people who will fight against such things, okay? Like for example in this picture here, this is about tyranny versus freedom. Now the point about this is people misunderstand freedom, okay? This is not freedom that we have, and our freedom is not actually taken, okay? Our slavery is being reinforced, okay? Because freedom means when you have nothing to lose, okay? But we have everything to lose because you have social media accounts, you have a house, you have car, you have a lot of concepts that are keeping you in bondage in the so-called matrix, okay? So that is basically slavery, okay? It is always a form of the reversed aspect of truth, because the truth is always in reverse in this world, because it can never be taught, it can never be learned, it can only be experienced, right? So freedom is slavery, okay? Why do you think everyone is supporting this idea of freedom here, freedom there? Why do you think freedom has been mentioned in America for so long? Because that freedom means nothing else than the American dream. But why do you think it's called a dream in the first place? It's nothing else than black magic, which means nothing else than manipulation. Okay? Why do you think it's called the American dream? It's called the American dream because it's not real. Okay? It's just a dream. It can only work inside your mind. Okay? When you turn your intellect against yourself, when you turn your imagination against yourself and you believe a lie your whole life. If your parents have been living in this American dream, just look at them. Why do you think they look like shit? Does any one of your parents actually look genuinely happy? Well, I doubt. Well, in very small percentages that might be a case, but I doubt they are socially fulfilled. Okay. So, why do you think the idea of preserving freedom has always existed, especially in America and such domineering countries? Well, not America itself, more like the uh, the deep state and the corporatists that are running the world, and well, they somehow have their headquarters in America. That's why America is such a ruling power. But the point is, why do you think this preserving freedom and fight for your freedom actually exists? Because it's actually fight for your slavery. Okay, how do you fight for your slavery? Well, very simple. You fight for your slavery with embracing consumerism, because through consumerism you become even more a slave. The more you have is basically the more you can lose, and the more you can lose, basically you are more and more of a slave to all these concepts, okay, to all these things that you don't even need but you're buying just because excerpts well, initially advertisements and then excerpts of advertisements tell you, because advertisements are initially big and then they are trimmed so that more and more come and fill your mind, right? So this point is nothing else than a distraction for you, because well, so many people are afraid of going within you and finding your own superpower, okay, finding out introspection and what you can learn about the world. Of course, introspection is not a straightforward path. It has a lot of potholes, it has a lot of black holes in which you can get stuck, but again, it's not an impossible route, okay? It's much better than simply embracing the fear and, all the, hate that is being propelled, because whatever you see on the news, especially in my country, I see nothing else than, the authorities, who first of all haven't been doing anything for us. They are simply blaming the population just because there are some few dumb fucks who, oppose a certain law of, mandatory, muzzles, okay, dog muzzles, because, well, the mask is nothing else than a dog muzzle, okay. A symbol of suppression and a symbol of embracing the so-called freedom, okay, which is nothing else than embracing this idea of, well, submission, because that's what society is all about, okay. And when I see ignorant people like this, it's like, what are you spraying? So many people just believe this coronavirus is like floating literally everywhere. It's like, dude, how dumb can you actually be? And of course now, because it's winter, people have to be kept inside houses, because this is how you reduce pollution. And when you reduce pollution, temperatures will come back to normal, so there will be even freezier winters. What this means? Well, this means one single thing, okay? It means people who up till now have been living in these, I don't know, so many years of global warming, okay, they have become a bit less used to harsh winters. So now there will be a lot more cases of, people getting, the usual cold, but this is nothing else than a pretext to support the ever rising numbers of the cunt virus outbreaks, right? Which is nothing else than lies. They're always inflating the numbers. And even in television, I've heard, like, basically all these plans have been done for a very long time, okay? And why do you think the coronavirus has been so successful, okay? Which is nothing else than a distraction, okay? The coronavirus is definitely not the real deal, okay? The vaccinations will be, because that's what basically everyone wants to be doing in this world, okay? They want to vaccinate 7.8 billion people. It's like, really now? Never in this world has ever been done something like that, and they're already saying that they have it. It's like, don't you think the big powers would already have it? And now the World Health Organization is stating that, face masks aren't good enough only. They need extra measures of control, like you need to be level 2 slave now, most likely you'll need gloves and the such, or I don't know, like at my country's news they even said that they almost know for sure that it's gonna be a full lockdown by December, okay? Because they want a full lockdown by December, okay? Because a full lockdown means you're not allowed to go outside, so basically they can pick each and every one individual in their own houses where they are most vulnerable, because if people can't unite, well, they are easy to pick up, right? And then you're gonna live in a society in which if you don't get vaccinated, you're not gonna be allowed to work, you're not gonna be allowed to enter stores and whatever, right? So all these things are nothing else than signs of a, deeply sick society, okay? It's nothing else than that, okay? A profoundly sick society that, well, it's not worth living in. It's not worth dying for. It's not worth fighting for. But, well, unfortunately, there are a lot of people who have such plans because, well, not everyone came here to do, to serve the, let's say, positive agenda, okay? Now, in the end, this whole pandemic, okay, because it's always been a plan, is nothing else than how to destroy the economy of the states and the economy of countries. Now, some people might ask, why exactly would the deep state want to ruin the economies of countries? Because, well, people have already been poor up till now, and when they lose their jobs and the economy is, broken down, the new world order will simply be implemented, okay? And what that means will mean one single government that will rule the whole world, and one single currency that will rule the whole world, okay? That's how you control people the best, okay? Imagine Hunger Games and such sci-fi games. These haven't been anything else than predictive programming. If you don't believe me, just do your own research, okay? And it's really sad when I actually looked on television, people running down the streets, and it's like, the towns are literally empty, and it's like, how the fuck are they empty? Like, are people actually that illiterate and that dumb to actually stay in their houses and do nothing and just expect society to do something? Dude, why would we expect society to do something? Society's been lying to you ever since you are born, and you expect society to do something? They're brewing out the vaccinations that will kill your children, and you're expecting society to actually do that. Well, of course, because so many people will actually enjoy seeing other people suffer, because that's basically what they are. They are basically nothing, okay? They are basically nothingness. There are such people who are basically nothing, okay, like narcissists and the such, and they only relish when it comes to other people's pains, okay? They will simply enjoy other people's pains because, well, they don't have anything else to do. Unfortunately, they will be among the first to die because in their ignorance, they will be living in survival. So when they see society coming up with something that promises but not necessarily delivers salvation, well then they will basically fight for that, okay? So all this being said, I've covered this topic, okay, and covered uh, I covered this, I think, quite thoroughly, okay? This is basically the agenda that is being carried, okay? The vaccination to kill people, okay? Every 100 years till now, there have been pandemics that have been human generated, okay? Like the Black Plague. It was generated by humans. People might ask, but how was the Black Plague so vicious, okay? Considering that back then there wasn't so much transportation. Well, just as usual, it was controlled, and well, the right people were at the right time, and simply that was transported in barrels, okay, in kegs, and it was kind of a little poison that had, it was a poisonous liquid that had, it was actually the right environment for the uh, pathogen that would cause that deadly disease, right? And guess what? It was spread throughout Europe throughout a certain period of time, and then when the right time came, it was simply spread in major corners of importance, and it's obvious that people will always run away. It wasn't a disease that would kill you instantly. It would have a little time to manifest, and people will always run away and seek for help elsewhere, and they would easily infect other people, right? And since there wasn't any internet and such, it would take a long time for so many people to actually well realize that something is at stake, okay? And you have 1720, 1820, 1920, and now you have 2020. Okay, if you look at the history and you do a little bit of research, you will see that every 100 years there has to be served some blood to the blood gods. Okay, because the Cabal live and worship such dark deities who every now and then they need a huge amount of pain and trauma to feed themselves, else they might lose some of their power and their grip. Okay, and that power is what holds this control, this so-called matrix, still existing over this planet. Okay, now these things are still a bit fuzzy, but I'm spreading this to people because, well, people need to know and people need to open their eyes, and well, I will actually keep sharing things even when ears forget to hear or simply don't want to hear, because the right ears will most likely hear. And well, I know that I can't save humanity, and I won't even think about saving the whole of humanity, because well, there will be a lot of people who simply won't make it. I'm okay with that. It might be people from even my own family, but well, I'm living only my life. I'm not narcissistic or wishing other people death or something like that, but it's just a simple aspect. I'm living my own life, and well, if others don't make it, it's up to them. Okay? Almost all the people around me, they are simply sleepwalking zombies, so you simply can't wake them up. It's not enough time. And doing that would disallow me from, connecting even more to myself, right? So all this being said, hopefully this was good for you. Hopefully this served as an eye-opener. You are loved and appreciated. Take care of yourself. And all this being said, well, you are doing the best you can at the right pace for you. Okay? Don't rush. Simply become more connected towards yourself, because what this lockdown is doing is simply keeping people in a cage, and well, there's not much thing to do in a cage. Okay, you can either choose to become distracted, or you can either choose to dive deep within yourself. There's nowhere to run when you're running away from yourself. Okay, so all this being said, take care of yourself. You are loved and appreciated. Ferinjan Board signing out.